All right. Well, first, I appreciate you being here, Bill. That it means a lot, and I know Mark is excited, and your family's excited for me to have you here. I've heard a lot of stories, so I was wondering if we could start at the beginning. If you could tell us, what year you were born and what kind of life you were born into.
Well, okay. I think that I should start my story when I was a kid in Canada. My mother and my dad didn't have a good marriage, so my grandmother raised me from the time I was an infant until I was 14 years old. When I was 14, then my mother came back to Canada and brought me back to the United States. Where I was raised in Canada was a little town named Shediac, Shediac, Shediac. It's on the ocean right on the east side of New Brunswick, Canada, or about 200 miles from Maine. Anyway, I don't know where to start the story, really. I have a lot of different things to talk about.
So what year was this?
This was when I came back to the United States was 1938.
38. And how old were you at that time?
I was 14.
Oh, wow.
I think.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Anyway, I didn't. When I was raised in Canada, it was all French people.
Oh.
So I was an infant until 14, and I just learned to speak French. Didn't speak any English.
Okay. And when you came back to the United States, what was the drive? Do you remember, or did your family just say, "We're going to the United States"? Or did you know why you were going to the United States?
I didn't know that I was coming to the United States. My mother and her new husband came to Shediac for a visit, and then I found out when she was there, they were going to take me back.
Okay. And then, at 14 years old, coming to the United States, the education, did you go into, was it high school then? Or?
I was supposed to go into the 8th grade in school, but because I couldn't speak any English, they knocked me down to the 6th grade. And I still couldn't speak English.
Right. And did they, yeah. That's funny because you guys need to speak English maybe in the 6th grade. Did it take you a while to pick up your English, or do you have to do extra classes? Or what did they do?
I picked it up every day, a little bit, few words from my mother. Wouldn't speak to me in French. She spoke to me only in English. So when she would send me to the store to buy some groceries or some bread, she would say, buy a loaf of bread. Here's the money, you get one loaf of bread. So I'd be going across the street, and there was a store there. They used to call them spas, S-P-A, spa. It's like a 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
So I'd go there, and I keep saying, loaf of bread, and I didn't know what I was going to get.
Yeah.
So I get inside the store, and I told the guy, there's a loaf of bread. He come out with a loaf of bread. Oh, du pain.
So, and where was this out in the United States?
This was in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Oh, okay.
Right outside Boston.
Yeah, okay.
There's Boston, and then there's a Charles River.
Yeah.
As a borderline, then Cambridge.
Okay.
And then Watertown, Waltham.
And when you guys came to the United States, how was the economy then? Do you remember much?
I don't remember anything. I know that everybody was very poor.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this about a month ago. My stepdad was a house-to-house salesman, and he used to sell sewing machines. He would go to Jordan Marsh. Jordan Marsh is like the Bob Marché in Boston, and they would have customers come in, look at the sewing machine, and they would try to get their name and address to follow up on, go make a house call.
Yeah. Were these Singer sewing machines, or do you know what they were?
Singers to start with, then it was white.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, you see, where did I left off here?
I think we were about 14 trying to buy bread and learn English at the same time.
Yeah. Anyway, I'd get the bread, he came home, and then we'd have a little few words in French. So I understood what I was doing. And I just picked up English here. Every day picked up a few words.
Yeah.
And I was in school, then going to the 6th grade, I knew enough to get by. I knew how to say cat, dog, cow, horse, house, car. Anyway, so that's how I learned. So anyway, to make the story, this long story, a little shorter, when I went to school, and they knocked me down to the 6th grade, and then when I got to high school, when I was a sophomore in high school, all my friends were my age. We were all 2 years older than the rest of the students. So a lot of my friends were joining the Marines and the Navy and the Army and the Air Force. And I wanted to go in the worst way because they were all my friends, but I couldn't go because my education wasn't good enough to get into before I was 18.
Yeah.
So in March of 1943, I skipped school, went to Boston, and enlisted in the Air Force. But when they found out how old I was, then they wouldn't take me. They took my name and my address. They were going to keep in touch with me for when I turned 18. They would come and call me.
Yeah.
And pick. Anyway, by the time I got to be a sophomore, all my friends were seniors. And they were all joining the service. And all of them ended up in Iwo Jima and Taiwan, not Taiwan. Iwo Jima was another big island. Anyway, a lot of them got shot and got killed over there.
Yeah.
So I didn't make it with them at that time. But when I turned 18, on October 18, 1943, they were right there at my door. They come and get me.
Those door-to-door salesmen.
Yeah. So anyway, I joined the Air Force. And I joined the Air Force Aviation Cadets. And I don't know how I got in there because I didn't have the education. And a lot of the people that were joining with me were college graduates. So, let's see.
Did you put interest into aviation, or was that just where you got
I
put?
just thought it'd be nice
Yeah.
to be flying up there.
Yeah. Was that, so back then when you thought of flying, I mean, was it just this, did all the kids admire aviation? Was it this, new experience? Was that something to it, or?
Well, it was something that nobody else had even thought about it.
Yeah.
They just thought just a lot about going into the service.
Yeah.
But I picked the Air Force because I wanted to get to fly.
Yeah. And did you get to fly, or what was?
Well, I did fly a little bit. First of all, when you're in the cadets, like I was, you go through a series of steps to get from nobody to a pilot. So when I joined, I was just like somebody off the street, didn't know anything. So they sent me to North Carolina State College in Raleigh. And there I went through a 6-week course on English and history, just general information, so I would be more educated. But I wasn't alone. Oh, there was about 30 in my troop. And after I went through the North Carolina State College, they transferred me to Sumter, South Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
Just on the border to North Carolina. And they were supposed to wait until they had an opening in the cadet school for us to go and go on with our training. Well, we waited there for a while, and then finally I got my orders to go to Selma, Alabama. And there, when I got there in Selma, I was one training period ahead of myself. I wasn't supposed to be there. So they knocked me down, and they sent me to San Antonio, Texas, to take pre-flight, aviation cadet pre-flight. There, I flew the Piper Cub.
Oh, cool.
A J5 Piper Cub. And there I flew it myself. After they taught me how to do it.
Yeah.
Landing and take off. And the first time I went up, I threw up all over the plane. I opened the side door and I got sick all over that plane.
Yeah.
So they said, if you do that one more time, then we have to wash you out of cadet. So that night I went downtown and I bought myself a bottle of Dramamine.
Oh, Dramamine was around then. I didn't know that.
Huh?
I didn't know Dramamine was around then.
Oh, yeah. Dramamine, and another one called Bonine. They have 3 or 4 different pills that were used for motion sickness.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for flying, be for car motion sickness. So anyway, let's see, where did I leave off?
You were
Then I took my pills, and the next day I went out flying. I didn't get sick, so I wasn't washed out. But I had to go through that schooling. And then from there, I went to Selma, Alabama, and there I was supposed to take advanced flight training to what they call a PT-13, Pilot Training 13. Well, they were way ahead of me. I wasn't qualified for that. Then they sent me to, I can't understand. Excuse me, I'm talking 75 years ago.
Oh, you're all right.
I went to another place, and then there was AT-6, Advanced Training 6. Well, I just knew the Flipper Cub. I didn't think I could fly that. So I was way ahead of myself. So finally, this was getting to the end of World War II with Europe. So we had more people graduating than they needed in the Air Force. So they washed out 95% of all cadets were washed out, of which I was one of them. I wasn't that smart. And they sent me to Laredo, Texas for gunnery school. There, I took gunnery school, and this is where I lost my hearing,
Oh, I bet.
shooting the machine guns.
Oh, I bet.
You know what?
I was just gonna say, I bet those guns were loud back then, and they really didn't have hearing protection for anybody. You guys were just shooting them, right? No, there's no earplugs or
No.
anything like that, right?
We shoot at a plane coming by and dragging a big sock.
Yeah.
Sock was about 20 feet long and about 4 feet in diameter, and it had about a quarter of a mile of cord tied to it to the back of the plane,
Oh,
back of the Piper Cub.
yeah.
And we go by, and everybody, all the cadets had different color bullets. They'd been soaked in, I had like blue paint on the lead. Some of them had red, some of them had orange, green. So when you come by with the sock, you shoot whatever you felt like it. And then to get the sock down, they can say, you see by the color of the paint
Oh, yeah.
on the sock, whether you hit it or not. Well, I must have hit it because they kept me.
Yeah.
And the pilot would say, be sure to shoot way behind the plane.
Yeah, I could imagine. Boy, that pilot must have been.
Be nervous.
Yeah, I bet.
So anyway, let's see, I was in Laredo, Texas. That was B-17 gunnery school.
Oh, okay.
So I went through B-17 gunnery school, and I graduated from that, and they gave me a piece of paper telling me that I was a qualified B-17 gunner. Well, anybody could have done that. And then, when I was ready to be shipped overseas, I got my order. They canceled my schooling, and they sent me to Fort Myers, Florida, for B-29 gunnery school. And they weren't using B-17 anymore. They're just going to use B-29. So I had to go through gunnery school all over again. But there was a different type of training. At the B-17, when you look at the plane coming in at you, like say 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock, you just aim at the plane and hope you hit it. On a B-29, you didn't have a machine gun. You had a big box. It's like a computer. And you had to sight the B-29 into this computer, and with a set of lights, a big circle, and you get that circle and close in and do the B-29 so that the lights would be hit from wingtip to wingtip. When you did that, you were the right distance away.
Oh, okay.
And then when you moved all your machine, what we had control of about 8 to 10 machine guns.
Oh.
And 2 turrets on the top, one on the back, the tail, and nose. All geared into the computer. So when you move the computer one way, all these guns all turn following the computer.
So these guns were mounted throughout the aircraft, and then when you lined them up, they shot. Is that in synchronization? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Because the B-17, that was just one gun out the front of the airplane.
B-17, they just had control of the guns that I was a left blister gunner, and I had control of the guns underneath me, and also from my buddy right behind me, be on the right plane. he can transfer from one to the other just by a switch.
Yeah. Wow.
But that wasn't very good. So anyway, at B-29 got me to school, and then just when I was ready to go overseas on the B-29, the war ended with Japan. I always say this, that the Japanese heard I was coming and they quit.
Yeah, I bet.
So anyway, then if you were in the service, the first there was 16 million servicemen in World War II.
Yeah.
And they had to get rid of all these servicemen, send them back home. But to do that, you had to have so many points. Points you had points for. If you were in combat, you might have got 2 points. If you were wounded in combat, you might have got 3 points. If you were just overseas, you might have got 1 point. Well, I didn't have any of those. All I got was United States service, and I didn't have any points to get out. So they had to find a place for me. Well, they looked for my records, and they found out I could speak French. So at that time, we had French aviation cadets going to school in Albany, Georgia, taking pilot training. So they sent me over there to work with those French people to help them go downtown and buy candy bars and nylon socks for their girlfriends.
Yeah.
And so I did that until I got discharged. But the interesting part of my story isn't what I said so far. It's what's to come. I had almost 3 years of GI Bill education coming to me for being in the service almost 3 years. So I see here. Anyway, I applied to go and try to get my high school diploma, but I couldn't get it because I needed 2 years. So they said, well, you have to go to school and get your 2 years in, then you can get your diploma. Well, I went to school. I went to a summer school, and then I went to a year of high school. Then I went then I went to summer school again, and I got my 2 years done in 1 year. And while I was doing this, I was also working full-time job, working for B.F. Goodrich Company in Watertown, Massachusetts, making tile for flooring and rubber boots for fishing.
Oh, okay.
That kind of stuff.
What was your drive to get your education? Was it really sought after? Because a lot of people didn't have a high school education, or did you really want to go to college?
Well, you had to pass a certain test before you could enter college.
Yeah.
And I was going to take forestry, because where I came from in Canada, that's all everybody did. They worked in the woods. They were lumberjacks or stone cutters, fishermen, and that's about it. That's all they could do.
Yeah.
So anyway, I applied from this Seattle University and also Denver, Colorado State College for entrance for forestry. Well, I got accepted from both schools. So I figured, well, I don't think I'll go to Denver, Colorado, because that's about 2/3 of the way to Boston. I couldn't come home weekends. So I decided to go to school in Seattle, thinking that it was so close to the Canadian border that I could get on the hockey team. Well, as I got there, they didn't even have any ice.
Yeah, a lot of water, no ice.
Yeah, right. So anyway, I got accepted from both schools in forestry, so I decided to go to Pullman. At that time, that was called Washington State College. And now it's something else. So anyway, I started in forestry, and I was in forestry for, about 3 or 4 weeks. And then I got to talking to a friend of mine that I met in the student line when they were signing up to go to school. And his name was Lyle Boulanger. Lyle Boulanger used to have Lyle's Corner Drug in Kennewick here.
Okay.
So he said, why don't you just give up that forestry? I had signed up to go become a pharmacist. He says, you'll always have a good job inside, nice climate. He said, it's like being outside in the woods and freezing your butt off.
Yeah.
So I transferred to pharmacy. And I was 4 weeks late in doing this. It was really tough, but I made it. See, I don't know.
It seems like you did a lot of tough things to get yourself ahead.
Yeah, and then, of course, after I went to pharmacy, I did graduate in pharmacy. My name is on a store in Richland, Malley Pharmacy.
Oh, really? And where's that at? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I better go look at that.
It's, you know where Safeway is in Richland?
Yeah.
Right across the street,
Oh, okay.
right beside Pizza Hut.
Oh, okay. We'll have to get a picture of that.
Yeah, that building that's there now isn't the building that I bought. It burnt down in 1987. They had a big fire in Richland. That was my drugstore that went up in flames.
Oh, no.
So I rebuilt the store, and I rent the building to the person that bought the store from me.
Mm-hmm.
He bought the store from me in January 1947, and while I was in Alaska fishing in June, my daughter Joanne called me. She says, the store burned down. I said, well, there's nothing I can do about that.
Hopefully the fishing was good.
Yeah. So anyway,
You just kept fishing?
no, I just kept fishing. Nothing I could do about it.
Right.
And let my insurance man handle it.
Right.
So anyway, I got the insurance money and rebuilt the store.
What brought you to, so how long did you have to go to school to be a pharmacist back then?
4 years.
4 years.
Now it's 7.
Yeah.
It's really a good profession, especially for a female. I say that because they can get married, get kids, and they can always have a part-time job. They can always find work.
Yeah. What kind of value did you find in pharmacists? It's funny because you went into pharmacy. Did it have anything to do with those Dramamine pills, or did you always have a fascination for that, or was it strictly your friend just referring you and saying you should?
I don't understand what you're saying.
I guess what I was asking was with like you got into pharmacy. Did you ever reflect on when you had those Dramamine pills and that being a pharmaceutical and helping you? Did you ever think about that, or
No.
or was it just strictly your friend?
No, just my friend.
Yeah, that's a good friend.
Yeah. I don't know what else I can say.
Well, so what brought you from college to the Tri-Cities?
Oh, well, let's see. In 1946, when I decided to go to college, and I had been accepted in Pullman, I got on a train in Boston and started going across country. And then I met a guy on the train. It was the same situation that I was in. He retired as a GI. He was going to Pullman also. His name is Lou Horvat. And he ended up being a teacher for shop work in high school, in college.
Yeah.
But we were roommates for about a year. Then I couldn't get by on the money that the government was giving me for schooling. They said, well, you went to school on a GI Bill. Well, that sounds really nice, but it isn't as nice as it sounds.
Yeah.
All they did is they buy your books and pay your tuition. You still had to pay for your meals and pay for anything else you wanted. So I had to get a job. So I got a job working in the cafeteria, very close to my barrack. And while I was working in the cafeteria, my job was cleaning pots and pans. And across the restaurant part of the college, away on the other side, was this little girl with blonde hair. I look at her, and I waved to her, and waved back. Then we started dating, and we ended up getting married. We've been married 75 years.
Oh, that's incredible.
And we've been married 75 years. We have 5 children. We had 3 boys, 2 girls. One boy passed away 3 years ago, a bad heart. And let's see, what else was I going to say? Married 75 years.
Well, and you have some grandkids. I'm glad.
I don't know how many. I don't.
You got a lot.
Every time I can't account,
Yeah.
it's different. They keep getting them.
Well, I can tell you, I'm glad you waved at that girl, since one of your grandkids is one of my best friends. So I appreciate that. That was a worth the wave. So you ended up coming to the Tri-Cities, and how long did you have your business here?
I came. The Tri-Cities got my first store, which was on Simons Street in Richland, a corner of Solomon and Van Giesen. Well, that store that I bought then was the first drugstore built in Richland by the government in 1944. And then when I bought it, it was called Castleberry Drug. Castleberry Drug was sold to a man by the name of Jack Ray. Jack Ray had a drugstore on the corner of Vancouver here in Kennewick. He had a big drugstore, but he couldn't have both stores because he was not a pharmacist. And the ruling is state law that you had to have a pharmacist owner in those days to have a drugstore. So anyway, he married a lady that was a pharmacist. So that's why they were able to get the store, Castleberry Drug, in Richland. But when he built the store in Kennewick, he had to find another pharmacist to sell his store to so he could go to work at his new store. Well, he couldn't find another pharmacist. So I just so happened that one weekend in 1940, I don't know what it was. But anyway, I came to Kennewick to see my friend Lyle Belanger. And Lyle says, why don't you come down the street here and talk to this man, Jack Ray? He probably could use a manager or somebody to run the store. I said, well, I really don't want that. I've gone through that too many times now, and I'm tired of managing stores. So he said, well, it won't hurt to go and to talk to him. I says, okay. So we walked from his house down to the store on Simon Street. And then the owner, Jack Ray, was sitting in the booth reading funny book.
Yeah.
I said, well, there's something wrong here. So anyway, he says, well, how much would you have to come here and be my manager? I told him. He says, well, I couldn't pay you that. He says, I might as well sell you the store. I said, well, how much do you want for the store? So he told me, it's just inventory. I says, well, I think I'll buy it. So I bought the store that day.
Cool. Was it on a handshake back then? I know a lot of deals were done on handshakes.
Yeah, there was no paperwork.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks later, I came down here with my check. I gave it to him. I took over.
Wow. So when you got into the pharmacy business and owned your store, how did you feel? I'm sure you were pretty valued to the community. Or did you become, I guess, build a lot of rapport with the community doing that in that type of business?
Well, the pharmacist was looked up to quite, well, not to the sense of bowing to you, but they were really glad that you were in the community.
Yeah.
And a lot of them call you doc. Well, they call you doc because you handle medicine, not because you knew a lot about medicine.
Yeah. What was there? So going through the years of being a pharmacist, was there very many pandemics that you remember where you really had to help the community? Or what was the most concentrated disease or sickness that you would help with that you remember?
The one that stands out is polio.
Yeah.
All the drugstores were asked to participate in handing out sugar cubes with 1 or 2 drops of polio vaccine for people to take them.
Oh, isn't that something?
Yeah. And the polio vaccine, that was a miracle drug.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the polio, it crippled my great uncle.
Yeah.
It eventually got him in the end. But yeah, that was really something.
Yeah, my neighbor had polio, and a very good friend of mine that lived in Yakima, and she had polio. She was really bedridden. She couldn't walk at all.
Yeah. So when owning a business throughout the decades here in Tri-Cities, was there advancements that really stick out to you? Or do you remember like new things coming online that you thought were really something in the pharmaceutical world? Or
one thing that happened when I first bought the store, everybody thought I was crazy. And they probably were right. But anyway, that was the year that Washington Water Power was closing the reactors. And they just kept one reactor, which is still active today.
That's the one at Energy Northwest?
Yes.
Yeah.
But they were planning on 2 or 3 more, which it never came to fruition.
Yeah.
But anyway, they said that, Hanford is going to be closing down. Why are you buying this drugstore in Richland? I said, well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I said, I just bought it because I thought it was a nice location. It had a nice customer clientele. And so...
well, you made a good choice. I mean, the Tri-Cities was booming for a long time.
when they came out with the news, they were going to close down the reactors. I put my marquee, I put some kind of a write-up. Good luck, Washington Water Power. We're behind you all the way. Well, that made the Chicago paper, made the New York paper,
Oh, wow.
Washington, D.C. paper. I made papers all over the country with my marquee
Yeah.
that said, here's a man that's not scared of what things to come.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like you were really I mean, from your story so far, it feels like you weren't really ever scared of what was to come.
No, I didn't.
Really?
I didn't know any better.
Oh, yeah. Ignorance is bliss, I guess. Yeah, that's incredible. So when you being in a business that was kind of for the community, what was the most fulfilling thing, or what was a value that you take from that of owning a business and being a part of a community? Or what did you appreciate most about that?
Well, I don't know how to answer that. I know that I like Richland, and I like the people, and evidently they liked me. They didn't throw rocks through my window.
Yeah. Well, I think you said some good stuff about it being a good job for people that had families and were able to make a good living and have a family. And
Right.
Yeah, I feel like that's hard. I mean, I'm sure it was hard then, but nowadays it's kind of hard for a lot of people where they really put in a lot of hours and don't spend much time with their family.
You have to go to school 7 years to get your license.
Yeah.
6 years of schooling and 1 year of on-the-job training
Yeah.
before you get your license. And that allows you to work as a pharmacist in Washington State only,
Oh.
not Oregon or Canada or Hawaii. If you want to work there, you're going to take the state board examination.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they get scared by the word state board.
Yeah.
A lot of them won't do it. A lot of them did it right after they got out of school, when they're still, all this information was still fresh in their mind.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of my student friends were to California to work down there because the wages were a lot higher down there.
Yeah.
But by the same token, expenses are a lot higher.
Yeah, it doesn't always work itself out that way.
Yeah.
So I got to go back. You said you were doing some fishing. Did you do a lot of fishing?
I did a lot of fishing. Every year I went on vacation, I went fishing.
Yeah. Do you have a fish that you remember the most? Like one fish that you caught, or one fish story?
One fish story. I always caught a lot of fish, but I never did catch. Oh, I have one fish story. I took my oldest son fishing one day when we were in CQ. You know where that's at?
Yeah, over on the coast of Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I rented one of these little rowboats, and I set Michael in the back seat, and I ran the motor. We just pull out from the dock. And we pulled out not more than a quarter of a mile from the dock. And I had fixed his line. And I said, okay, Mike, let your herring go and go down easy to the bottom and come up 2 or 3 turns on your reel. Well, he went to the bottom, he came up 1 or 2 turns, and he had a hit. Well, he had a 39-pound ken salmon.
Oh, isn't that something?
Yeah,
And
and it was bigger than he was.
Yeah. For the people that have never caught a salmon at all, or a 39-pound salmon, that is a fish. I mean, that's a pound for pound fighting fish.
My big fish story, success story, is I've got a 25-pound steelhead on the wall of my house. And that is something.
Yeah, that's a fish. I'll have to look at that next time I'm over there. That is something.
Come on in.
Oh, yeah.
In my house, it's like walking into a zoo.
Yeah.
I got steelhead. I got a Dall sheep. Dall is DAHL.
Did you get that in Alaska or Canada?
Yeah, Alaska.
Yeah.
And I've got a 65-inch spread moose horns.
That is something.
65-inch. That's almost as wide as you're tall.
Yeah.
You're a 6-footer.
Yeah. A little bit over.
Yeah.
Yeah. What? So you did some hunting too then with that.
I used to do a lot of hunting.
Where was your favorite place to hunt?
Alaska.
Alaska.
Right out of Fairbanks. From Fairbanks, we'd go by Piper Cub. We would go, 30 miles out of Fairbanks into the Alaskan Range Mountains and on a river called the Wood River. And the man that used to take us there, he had a cabin there. It was kind of a shack. Anyway, he'd take us every year, no charge.
Oh, wow.
All we had to do is bring in the food and the booze.
Yeah, there you go. Necessities.
Yeah.
Did they ever let you fly the Cub again? Did you ever fly again?
No.
Never flew again.
No. I had a desire for it, but I didn't have time.
Yeah.
I trying to get raising a family. I had to keep income keep coming in.
Right. What was your favorite hunt that you did?
My favorite hunt
Yeah.
is getting my moose.
Yeah.
That was a big. I shot a lot of moose, at least a dozen.
Oh, wow.
But this one is 65-inch. That's a big moose.
Yeah.
And then the next day, I shot another one, 64-inch.
Wow.
Shot for my friend. And he used to be a fellow in town here. His name was Phil Preeby. Phil Preeby was a dentist.
Oh, okay.
He never hunted before. And he wanted to know if he could go hunting with me. I said, sure. So I arranged the whole thing. And anyway, and that's the second day, the last day of our hunt. He hadn't got a shot yet. And he says, if you see one, get it for me. That was an hour later that I shot that moose, that 64-inch for him. And I sent him in the woods around where the moose was supposed to be. And I said, go on the other side of these trees, and if I miss, then he's going to come your way. If he comes your way, you shoot him. So anyway, I got set, and then moose came out of the woods, and then I aimed, and I shot. And I shot him 3 times. And I hit him all 3 times. And then the moose went back into the woods. By this time, my friend Phil Preeby came out of the woods, and he wasn't very far from where I was. And I says, And the moose came out of the woods. He says, well, shall I shoot this moose? I says, well, that's your moose. Go ahead and shoot him. He aimed and he shot, and he hit him right through the horns.
Oh no. Well,
The way I could tell that, I had my scope on the horns on the moose.
yeah.
I see a big cloud of dirt going in the air.
Yeah.
And then there was a hole in the horns. And then the moose fell down.
Yeah. Probably knocked him out.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to miss 64-inch antlers. That's really something.
Well, that's a trophy.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they go higher than that. They go into the low 80s.
That is something. Yeah. How many trips did you take to Alaska over the years?
Well, let's see. Oh, yeah.
Probably not enough.
I stopped going about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I went there probably about 30 times.
Oh, wow.
I used to go to Ketchikan to go salmon fishing.
Yeah.
My daughter's been there fishing with me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's neat that you instilled that in your family because I know you guys went up, a year ago, 2 years ago? They still go up. Yeah, so that's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
It sounds like you guys did that as a family thing quite a bit.
Yeah, we went there one year. What was it? How long ago, Joanne, we got all the halibuts. You got the picture at home. 10 years?
2009, yeah, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. It's fun. It's fun to bond with friends and family over hunting and fishing. I think there's nothing better.
They haven't stopped talking about it.
Oh, yeah, they never will.
They really liked it.
Yeah, that's the fun thing about getting out
And
there.
the more fun they have,
Yeah.
the better I like it.
Yeah. It's funny how that works out with like hunting and fishing. You almost love it when your friends or your family catch them or shoot them before you do.
Is Mark here?
Yeah, he's hiding over there.
I can't see him. I'm legally blind. And so, Mark, when we took him one year, somebody in my group couldn't make it, that Mark filled in for him. Is that the way it went?
Grandma broke her hip.
Yeah, he says grandma couldn't go.
Yeah,
Well, lucky Mark.
yeah. Mark was ready to go.
Yeah, I bet. I've seen him fishing. He gets pretty wily out there. That's fun. Well, how are you doing? Are you tired? You got anything else you want to say, or is there any fun moments you want to talk about? Or
Well, like I said before, I'll be 98 years old in October.
that is something. 99.
And
I hear.
my wife would be 95 in May.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And we've been married over 70 years. But we don't have, we've got to face reality. We don't have many years left.
Well,
We'll probably be dead in 2 or 3 years.
well, I appreciate you telling me about taking your time to come here and talk to me, because that's something that's kind of the purpose behind this is it is inevitable, and I really appreciate your generation, and the stories are just incredible that my generation will never understand.
Who do you work for?
I work for Amazon.
Amazon?
Yeah, I work on the data center side
Well, I'll
and the
tell you,
computers. Yeah,
I have Amazon stock.
so you're doing pretty well.
Well, I'd like to do better.
Yeah, I'll tell them. I'll talk to some people and let them know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I, that's kind of what I want to do this, because I work in the data centers. We keep the internet, basically. We host it, and that was my thought was, we're in a position now to get stories like yours and your generations where we can put them on the internet now or store them, and they'll be there forever. So it really means a lot to me, and I think I know it means a lot to your family for you to sit here and tell your story, because it's truly incredible.
Yesterday or the day before, I was with my daughter driving somewhere, and I asked her, I said, there used to be 16 million men
Yeah.
that joined the service in World War II. I said, now there's only 100,000.
Yeah. That's incredible.
And they're dying at the rate over 300 a day.
Yeah. Well, I feel so lucky. I looking back, if you go back, looking at the service just before we finish up, what is something that you took from joining the service that you still hold like joy to, or something that drove you to be successful? Did it come from the military, or was it you coming to the United States, or is there anything that?
Well, what made it successful for me, which probably doesn't sound like much to anybody else, I came from a very poor family. We couldn't afford to buy sugar for our oatmeal. We just put molasses in
Oh yeah.
in the oatmeal. And it was very poor. We couldn't buy a hamburger. The only hamburger we got is when we shot a bear or a moose or a deer and grind the meat at home.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something. That's another thing that I know that you've kind of instilled in your family, is because I've been over with Mark and over to Joanne's that's some of my favorite memories will be at Mark and Joanne's house when we were grinding up elk burger. That had to be just a couple of years ago, but it's just it's a commodity, and you realize that people used to hunt for their food, and that was the only food they got. Well, I think just before we finish up, I want you to know how much I know we appreciate your generation and showing us what hard work comes up, and we're so spoiled because of your generation, and really we owe so much to you.
One thing that I really enjoy is people coming to me and shake my hand.
Yeah.
And thank me for being in the service.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that, even though I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
But I was there in case they needed me.
Yeah. Well, and the Japs quit because you were coming.
Yeah.
So they need to thank you for that too. Well, I appreciate your time, and I think I can't thank you enough.
Well, I hope that my little story is what you wanted.
Oh yeah.
And if it isn't, you're stuck with it.
Yeah. Well, no, it's your story, and that's what we want. There's nothing.
Yeah.
They're all amazing, really. So, yeah. Thanks, Bill. I really appreciate it.